Step into the world of Inspired by Cindia, a mental health life coach with a podcast dedicated to mental health and life coaching. Cindia is here to ignite your inner spark and accompany you on the path to embracing your authentic self. Together, you'll set out on a journey to uncover the stories of remarkable individuals who have left a lasting mark on her. So, brace yourself for a sprinkle of inspiration that will light up your life.
Welcome to Inspire by Cindia. I'm your host, Cindia, and I am so filled with bliss today here with Rachel. Rachel, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here. How's your day going?
It's been really, really good. I feel like the theme around today has really been about reflection and connection. And it's been one of those really quiet Tuesdays that even though I had a lot of appointments, it's felt very aligned and very, very good.
Yeah, that's awesome because, yes, we've been talking about self love and courage and faith. What are your thoughts around courage and faith?
Well, I can share from experience that having faith usually is a very courageous action. I think that faith is both an essence being thing, but it's also an aligned action thing, that it's a conscious choice that we make. And I think it's a very courageous choice because you are essentially saying, I believe and know X, even though I can't see it. So it's kind of like with gravity where you can't see it, but you know it exists. It's the same thing, insert like whatever your background is or your belief system is. For me, it's Christianity, but you're essentially saying like I am choosing to believe in this unseen thing, and I think that's a pretty courageous move when we live in such a fact driven and scientifical proof society.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're saying courage and faith is one
i
together?
i think so. I think even when we maybe don't feel like we can keep going, or we don't feel like we're very faithful in the moment, like having the courage to show up and say, no, I am, like that takes a lot. So I think they're pretty intertwined in that regard.
Yeah. How about fear? Where does that come in?
Oh gosh. Um I will speak from my personal experience, and I will say that fear and prosperity or fear and abundance can't coexist. I have found that the best way to work through fear is through faith. I can't
Mm.
speak to how someone who isn't spiritual or doesn't believe in a higher power gets through the fear, because that's never been my personal experience.
Mhm.
But I can say that leaning into what's true for me, which is that I'm unconditionally loved and supported, has been the anchor or the holding force that's kept me grounded through those moments that I've just felt absolutely consumed by fear.
Yeah, so having having support, having some support from something higher or higher than you, is that what you're saying? Just having something to lean on outside of yourself?
I think it looks a little different for me in that I wholly and truly believe in the unconditional love and support from God through Christ. Like that's my truth as a Christian and as a Catholic. And I believe that I am wholly equipped through the power of the Holy Spirit to not have to look at worldly external validating things, whether that's people or job titles or whatever, but to really rely through him in those moments. Like that's what I believe. I know I have a lot of friends who don't have a similar religious affiliation, but they believe in like the universe or higher power, like they give that deity or that um higher being a different name or association, and it's kind of the same thing where it's like you find that power within yourself because it comes from that higher source, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah. Okay. And and how do you and how do you deal with that in today with your everyday life?
Oh gosh. Um I can say that prior to last year, I was a very, very fearful person. I've really battled with anxiety and have really battled with like body dysmorphia and a lot of mental health issues kind of related to negative self talk. And I don't want to say paranoia in the extreme sense, but I've always been very cautious about what was going to happen next or preparing for the worst or having a really scarce mindset. And really over the course of the last 12 to 18 months, and I've really figured out and have done a lot of reflective work to get to this place of knowing the truths that like I knew on paper or things that I thought that I knew, and really starting to be that person as opposed to trying to constantly become something. And I think when I took a step back and allowed myself the space and the grace to just kind of exist and do things that I felt were divine and aligned, that's when I've kind of been able to let go of the fear of the unknown or the fear of the what coulds or shoulds, because I know that I'm grounded, one, in my faith, but also grounded in who I am. And I think when you don't know who you are and don't know what your purpose is, it's really easy to get kind of trapped in this place of flight or fight where you don't know, which way is up.
Yeah. Was it something that transpired within those months that made you dig a little deeper within yourself to find the true self that we're discussing?
Yeah, so the
Or the true
catalyst.
Rachel? Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. The catalyst was I was in a car accident in November of 2021,
Mm.
and I completely lost my identity. It was a situation where I was at the time a working hairstylist. I had a salon that I had just signed a lease for and was going from, being a solo suite owner to a full-time salon owner. I had a clothing and a boutique and all these things that I was building. We had just moved to Florida from Indiana, and I dropped my mom off at the airport and I was T-boned by a half-ton pickup truck.
Ooh.
And the what I didn't know at the time of the accident is that the year following that was going to be riddled with autoimmune related issues that were triggered by the trauma of the wreck. I had a lot of internal bleeding and a lot of internal body trauma that really set off a form of psoriatic arthritis. And it ended my career as a hairstylist. And it was really that moment that changed everything. And not being able to do the thing that I use as my identity really forced me to take a step back and look at who the heck am I? Why am I here? I wasn't supposed to walk away from that. So, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? And who am I supposed to be being that is going to give me the life that I actually want versus the life that I had, which was one it was full of money, but it was also full of burnout and frustration and bitterness. So that was really the big catalyst.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm so sorry that you got into a car accident and you said you lost your identity. So, do you feel a sense of back togetherness and feeling more whole than you were before? Or how?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel for the first time in my entire life, not just my adult life, totally and wholly complete. I know that there's still room for growth and there are things that I want, but for the first time in my life, I feel like I have everything that I need. And as someone who grew up not feeling satisfied. Like, that's such a beautiful place to be in. Growing up, I would constantly compare my body or my material possessions or my opportunities or my talents or whatever to the person sitting next to me. And through doing a lot of that internal work and finding security in who I am as a person has really allowed me the opportunity to take a step back and live life full of gratitude and in a very extraordinary way, to where I don't have any other feeling other than total gratefulness and total completion, while always also keeping the door open for receiving like whatever blessings that are meant to come my way. Like, it's just a really beautiful place to be in.
Yeah. Well, I like that, and I'm so happy that you found your purpose. What are some examples you can give to the audience of ways to dig in deeper so that they too can find their purpose? So they won't have to it won't have to be maybe a car accident or a big scare, but finding that grounding place.
Yeah. One of the things I did after my wreck, and I had no idea at the time that I was doing it, I went about 9 months really trying to do what I did before the accident, and I just kept getting sicker. And I had a scare back in June of 2022 where I was almost hospitalized because I was doing so much. I didn't have capacity to physically do everything that I was trying to take on. And I had a really bad health scare. And in that moment, I sat down with a blank sheet of paper and I started writing, what would I love life to look like? What are the things that I would like to have? Who do I feel called to be? And then I started clipping and taking things from magazines and printing things. And I always would go back to the vision board, and I would do things in a very masculine energy where I would try to like set these really, really, really big goals, and I would try to manifest outcomes through the process of doing rather than being.
Mhm.
And over the last, I would say, 12 months, I've taken a lot of reflective time and I've kind of shifted my thought process away from not just creating a vision board, but really creating a being board where I can assess and check every opportunity I'm given, whether it's a speaking opportunity or an opportunity to go take on this job or go work in this space, or even just if it's to go hang out with a friend for coffee. I kind of look at that board and reference, like, does this feed into what makes me me and my being? Does this feed into my goals? Does this feed into my dreams? And it's not just something that I'm doing for the sake of doing it. It really forced me to reassess time and really look at, where do I want to spend my day? If I have to work a job, financially, like, what kind of job do I want to work? Where do I like to spend my time? And how can I build my business around what I want rather than building my business around what I think I need to do to attract X, Y, or Z client? And that's a lot of what I call like embodied living, or like embodied branding and content creation. Like, where everything that I create, everything that I do is fact checked and supported by that being board that I've made. And that's where I really look at, do I want to meet this person for coffee across town and sit in traffic? Or do I want to try to find another way to connect that feels more aligned and will keep the peace there? Or do I really want to take that speaking opportunity that's going to take me away from the kids during spring break? Whereas before it was more like, let's go ahead and just do all this stuff because it's going to bear fruit later. I want to enjoy the fruit now while I'm alive to eat it.
Yeah, I like that. So you said writing down what you want, asking yourself the questions, having a visualize form of looking at what you want. Did you have like a life coach or someone holding your hands and pushing you to get closer?
So I've had a lot of different mentors. I feel like they've all came into my life exactly when they were supposed to. I've been very blessed in that sense where early on in my career, I hired a lot of professional development coaches, or I'd hire, when I was a hairstylist, my mentor was, this icon that painted highlights beautifully. And I still think, even apart from the highlights that she paints, like her look on life is just beautiful. And I still look to her as a mentor today, more so in the realm of like customer experience and things. But it was very like business and professional development focused. Whereas within this last year, I started to focus more on taking care of myself and figuring out what I wanted so that I could attract the right people into my space. And that looked a little bit different in different seasons. I worked with a sales coach specifically where I was part of a mastermind. I love community and group coaching. I love those ecosystems and incubators. I think they're great places for entrepreneurs to grow. But I also hired more of I guess you could call her a life coach, but she was more along the lines of like an embodiment coach where I actually went and I did a retreat in a yurt, which was so not like
Mm.
me at the time. But I ended up spending a day in California and I did that experience. And really, what I found is that although really value the wisdom that this person shared and brought into my life, what I value the most is that I made the intentional time for myself to really answer the questions that were being asked of me in a way that was authentic and honest, and I created my own space. I had no idea prior to this year what it meant to create sacred space for yourself, and in that moment it really gave me 8 whole hours to completely turn off my phone, lay on a yoga mat in the sun, and really just like envision and absorb everything that was happening somatically to my body, not just like around me, but truly like in and through me. And I found that that experience was really a beautiful pivotal moment for me to learn to do that for myself here at home and not have to physically go to a yurt every time I wanted that. So that was
Yeah.
huge.
Okay, so they taught you how to do it and you took it home.
Mhm.
Awesome. What's one piece of wisdom you've gained that you wish you knew earlier before all the incident?
Oh my gosh. I think one of the biggest truths that I wish I would have known is that I already had everything inside of me that I needed.
Mm,
I have spent thousands upon thousands of dollars for other people to validate my opinions or positions or to teach me a system or to guide me towards something. And although I've learned something through every one of those processes, and I highly, highly value the wisdom that I've gained, more so than that, I really learned that everything I needed to be successful, I already had. And it's the
yeah.
truth for everyone. I tell all of my clients that I'm more than happy to guide you through your personal branding journey and ask the questions and give you the space. But everything that you need to be successful in life and business, you already have inside yourself.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that because that's the truth. And it sucks that we fail to realize that because we're so used to just moving on with what's next and just I want to be here, I want to do this, and I want to do that. And we're not slowing down to see we have all that it takes
Yeah.
in us.
I think the thing that really came up for me when I was going through this journey is that I remember looking back, I'd wanted to have a blog for forever. Back when blogging was like the bee's knees. I remember it being like 2012 and wanting a mommy blog even before I had kids. And when my husband and I got married, I had voiced to him that I wanted that, and he went out and he bought me a new MacBook, and it was very sweet, and I felt very supported. But I remember opening it up and looking on Instagram and looking through Pinterest and thinking, like, I'm never going to be able to create content like that. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. No one's going to want to hear what I have to say. My stories aren't funny. Like, basically anything that I could say to stop the forward progress is what I did. And I noticed that same kind of pattern coming back when I started my podcast. And I had to decide that enough is enough, that it's not about what does it take to look like the girl next to you, or what does it take to create content the way that she does. It's truly all about creating from yourself and knowing that what you have to offer the world is valued and cherished, and you have the ultimate, authority in terms of allowing yourself to show up or not. Like, you get to make that conscious choice. And when you choose to show up and you choose to create from that embodied and authentic place, you already are your highest self. Like, it's not about being her to get to some place. It's about being the highest and best version of you.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Very good. In what ways do you cultivate gratitude in your everyday life today?
I wanna say this isn't hard. It shouldn't it because on paper, it shouldn't be. Like, there's a lot of things I have to be grateful for, and I'm very blessed, but it's hard for me. In full transparency, I wake up to the alarm, and I'm instantly annoyed. I want to sleep longer. I don't like waking up at 5:45 every morning to get the kids ready for school, but
Mhm.
I have to that's where I first, like, I choose to check myself when that alarm goes off, because I've been in situations and I know people that don't get that opportunity, and so it really starts with being grateful for the opportunity to exist, being grateful for the opportunity to take up space freely and to be able to speak freely, and, like, so much of the things that we take for granted, that are just kind of like second nature for us, those liberties aren't for a lot of people. So it's really starting there. And then throughout the day, I really try to live an extraordinary life.
Mm.
And I know a lot of folks may say that that's bougie, or that luxury is not doable for them, or insert whatever. And the reality is that extraordinary doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be aligned with who you are and how you want to experience the world. And when I pour myself a proper cup of tea, or I sit by the pool, or I see my kids come home because my husband's able to pick them up in the car line because he's also an entrepreneur, like, it's those little things that I take a second to pause and just be really, really grateful for what I have, and also really grateful for the opportunity to welcome in more. And I think a lot of people forget that component of it when they're thinking about, like, manifesting, or they're thinking about growth. Like, when you come at that goal from a place of gratitude, that outcome is so much sweeter than if you spend your time constantly worried and focused on what you don't have.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. And what inspires you for these days?
I find inspiration everywhere. I'm one of those people that, like, I love to create, and I think I could create with just about anyone. And that's not, like, from a prideful place. Like, I say that from this place of, like, I truly enjoy seeing other people light up and find their creative zone of genius too. So it could be anything from listening to a business owner talk about how they started a new venture, or it could be, my kids have 100 days of school that they're celebrating on Friday, and we made shirts. And it was like this really beautiful moment of, it doesn't have to be perfect. They just need to be involved in the creation. I'm not going to order something on Etsy this year. Like, just things like that, where it's really just about being present in the moment. And when I'm given those intuitive nudges or intuitive hits that this could be something that you can create off of, like really creating the space to sit down and talk about it. I keep a I have a notes app on my phone, and I keep a running list of experiences or things I want to revisit. And when I journal, I usually come back and look at those. And a lot of the times I turn those into captions. So that's a
Mm,
big part of where I find my inspiration.
nice. So those captions are for your new blog or
They're they're mostly for social. I've made the commitment this year to be more present on Instagram. I took about an 18-month hiatus after my car accident
mm,
because the accident really shaped, the beginning of me changing my identity. And so much of my accounts were related to my salon and to cosmetology. And so I've really made the commitment to start showing up more actively on that platform. But in the process of rebranding, I really found my footing on LinkedIn. And so I find myself creating a lot of my LinkedIn content and captions from my everyday experiences, whether it's at work or at home.
okay. Nice. Okay, so LinkedIn is a new place to be.
I love LinkedIn. I'm
Hmm.
obsessed. Like, it is one of the most authentic ways for me to show up because it's this beautiful blend of I can share freely about my business without feeling salesy because people are there to engage in business. That's what the platform is for. But I can also show up as a human being, and I don't have to worry about what does this look like in the grid? Am I doing a video that's, going to have the proper audio and hook and all of the elements? Like, it's just a much more relaxed but yet still formal way for me to show up and build community. And the platform itself is just very aligned with how I like to experience those business relationships. So I've really enjoyed it.
Nice. Okay. Well, I definitely want to look into LinkedIn a little more. Just so many platforms.
Yeah. You really have to choose the one or two places that you want to invest your time. And for me, that looks like, okay, like where do I enjoy showing up? And I love showing up on LinkedIn, and visually, I enjoy Instagram. I still struggle with a little bit of the filtering and censoring that takes place there, in terms of, everything having to be polished. But I also know that, like, that is what I do for a living, and I love creating that kind of content. So I walk a really fine line between, you know, what I share and how I share, and I'm still kind of finding my footing there, but I'm choosing to really devote a lot of my energy into LinkedIn and Instagram, and then use Facebook's in the same way that like we connected for like the groups and community aspect of it. So it's been really good.
Nice. And in what ways do you seek to grow and evolve as a person within this new year?
Yeah. I really am welcoming in the opportunity for organic growth this year. I I'm not sure if you're familiar with human design, but I am a what they call a projector, and I don't have capacity to constantly renew and create my own energy. I am a very responsive person. I have a very limited amount of energy that I can devote to doing activities. I like rest. I like being invited. I just really enjoy organic relationship building. And so I'm very open to receiving organic growth and not doing a lot of heavy calculated lifting this year.
Mhm.
I'm really focused into spending more time at the spa and spending more time with my family. And I've already carved out a solid 6 to 8 week gap just from Thanksgiving to the middle of January next year where I am completely off. And
Nice.
I'm taking off my kids' entire spring break. I'm taking off a big chunk of the summer. and just really taking a lot of aligned action and taking advantage of rest and fun opportunities and really
Mhm.
ushering in like that opportunity for organic growth this year.
Nice. Is that what self-care look like to you?
Oh gosh, yes. I have learned that I am much happier and much more productive when I am just being Rachel. And that sounds so wooey. I know that that's like not something that a lot of times we people want to hear, but I make more money sitting at the spa, writing a, creating a piece of content or writing a caption or engaging with someone intentionally and then being done for the day than I ever did running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to be in 100 different places at once.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So spending more time within will give you more productivity.
It will give me better outcomes because
Mm,
I can honestly say that I work probably 85% less than what I did as a hairstylist in a multi six figure salon and business owner than, or excuse me, I said that backwards. I give 85% less action than I did then with those outcomes. And I've made triple with, 15% of that effort. Like that whole 80/20 rule, or where it's like your 80% of your results are driven by 20% of your actions. Like I live that. And
mhm.
it's been a game changer in how fast I've been able to grow financially, how far I've been able to come personally. It's been mind-boggling.
Okay, nice. I like that. And what's one message you would like to leave with the audience today?
I think the message that I would most like to convey is that nothing outside of you can save you or guarantee your success. You
Mm,
have to be able to physically see what you want before it can transmute into the physical outcome and believe and know that you're worthy of having it. So it's really not looking for that external validation and not looking or hiring coaches or entering programs or attending things in the spirit or energy of simply, saving something or out of desperation, but rather inviting opportunities in with the energy of really good vibes and best intentions and empowerment, and knowing that regardless of what's happening around you, you have absolutely everything you need.
yeah. So just come in as you are and everything will show up
And believe in who you are.
and believe in who you are. I like that. And Rachel, you said you had a podcast. You want to tell us where we can find you and a little bit about your podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a podcast called Pulp to Profit, and it is all about helping women figure out who they are and how to package it and how to make connections and where to grow, and really turning who you are at your core into a profitable business. So it's a little bit of that B2B strategy goodness that we all kind of secretly love and want to, crave. But
Mhm.
also, it's a lot of lifestyle and a lot of just really honest, good connection. The ecosystem that we're forming around the podcast is very community and relationship driven. I don't have a lot of offers that I drive, within that community. Like it's very organic and it's very relationship focused. So it's a
Mhm.
great place to find your tribe, and also a great place to really ask some super reflective questions and find those answers within yourself.
Nice. I like that. And your Instagram name and where we can find you, where you did say you spend your time on LinkedIn, so we can
Yeah.
definitely find you on LinkedIn. And Any other platforms?
Yeah, so I'm super active on LinkedIn. I'm Rachel Lynn, Lynne Wall, or my Instagram. I'm starting to show up there more consistently. It's rachel.lynn.wall on Instagram and rachellynwall.com.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for joining me today on Inspired by Cyndia. It was truly inspiring talking to you today.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your platform, and it's an honor to be here, and I'm really grateful for you creating this space. It's been great.
Thank you. All right. You take care and have a good day.
You too.
All right.